Thank you for your interest in our paper, Monsters, Metaphors and Machine Learning. My name is Graham Dove, and this work is done in collaboration with my colleague at New York University, Anne-Laure Fayard. The work reported in this paper has been motivated by articles in popular media that apply a technology as monster metaphor to artificial intelligence, and in particular to machine learning. This is a familiar metaphor and one which has often been called upon when new or challenging technologies come into mainstream focus. For example, when genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, became known as Frankenstein foods in tabloid headlines at the turn of this century. We start the paper by identifying examples of this technology as monster metaphor. We then lay out some of the challenges that machine learning poses for UX designers and provide a background review of the role of metaphor in design research and practice. Following this, we revisit historical human-monster relations and reintroduce these complex and ambiguous others. We then discuss how metaphorical monsters can help us understand machine learning. In the remainder of the paper, we show how the technology as monster metaphor can be used generatively when designing with machine learning. We provide detailed examples from an early-stage design workshop investigating how machine learning might be used to support student mental health and well-being. In this presentation, I focus on two of these sections. First, I will provide an overview of our reintroduction of the monster figure, and following this, I will focus on how we have used the technology as monster metaphor generatively. Each of these will be a brief discussion, and so I recommend reading the paper, where the narrative is presented in much more depth. Our view of monsters and the monstrous is rooted in a Western European history, although we also acknowledge the important influence of other cultural traditions on how this has developed. In English, the etymology of the word monster typically suggests that it comes from the Latin for a warning, and in ancient Rome this would mean omens from the gods, seen in the form of signs, such as a stillborn fetus with congenital deformities. More recently, monsters in literature have provided a warning of contemporary concerns. For example, Mary Shelley's story Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus tells the tale of a creature brought to life and then abandoned by its creator. In the story, Victor Frankenstein brings the creature to life using electricity, which at the time was a powerful new technology, in many ways analogous with computing today. While monsters instill fear and act as a warning of possible dangers, their power also attracts, and they can prompt feelings of desire. For example, the siren song was so compelling and attractive that sailors were unable to resist it and would be lured to their death. Similarly, the desire to achieve miraculous results through magical means leads to monstrous outcomes in Goethe's The Sorcerer's Apprentice and Hasidic golem tales. Examples such as vampires demonstrate how the otherness of monsters has been a way to both explore and demonize desires and practices outside of contemporary norms. The complexity of human-monster relations, the monster's strange otherness, and their facility for introducing the unknown and unfamiliar have allowed monsters to play an important role in ritual and rites of passage. We exploit this capacity to embody what-if questions when we employ the familiar technology as monster metaphor generatively during design activities. One example of how we use monsters when designing with machine learning is a set of cards we've developed for ideation workshops. These cards each show an example of a monster from popular culture or historical mythology, and draw some connection between the monster story and machine learning. In this way, we prompt participants to question their assumptions or potential design choices. A second example of how monsters inform our design practice is the workshop format, Where Be They Monsters? In this workshop, we bring together different stakeholders, including domain experts, UX designers, and data scientists, to explore the particular challenges of working with machine learning in very early stage design. In the paper, we discuss this workshop format in detail, illustrating our discussion with empirical data from an example workshop inquiring into the possible use of machine learning to support student mental health and well-being. The workshop takes the data that might power a machine learning system, the ground truth that might describe a particular domain, and the predictions or recommendations a machine learning system might produce as key points in a journey map. We then explore the space around and between these points. We frame this inquiry with a series of worksheets asking particular questions in the form who, what, why, where, when, and how. These questions help challenge assumptions and identify uncertainty. And wherever our participants find these unknowns, they mark it as a place from which monsters might emerge. Participants select and develop particular monsters, describing what they represent, why they should be feared, and what might be done to domesticate them and reduce their potential to cause damage. For example, in the student mental health and well-being workshop that we discuss in the paper, one group described a monster they simply called ground truth. This was because the notion of ground truth was so challenging to them, and was the area where they found so much uncertainty that they couldn't answer any of the questions posed. This can be seen in the emptiness of the middle hexagon shown on this slide. For another group in this workshop, the validity of their selected data sources proved challenging. This group created a monster called Normie that challenged their assumptions about how normal mental health might be characterized, and how data that might describe it could be captured. As one member of the group said when explaining their monster, Normie shows us there is no normal. To sum up, our research takes the familiar technology as monster metaphor as a starting motivation, and considers how it might be used generatively to support designing with machine learning. We revisit human-monster relations and investigate human-machine learning relations in order to draw connections that show us how the monster's strange and powerful otherness, which prompts both fear and desire, can help stakeholders embrace the uncertainty typical in these design situations, and challenge assumptions that might otherwise only emerge as so-called unforeseen circumstances. Thank you for your time and for your interest in our paper.